us on She Reflects, where everything is about you and for you. My name is Princess Rose, and beside me are two wonderful ladies.
Hey, it's Jatara.
Ty Hollins, how you doing?
So today we will be talking about colorism and how the differences between lighter shades and darker shades, and what we can do as Christians to approach that subject, but also what we can do just to even talk about. A lot of times we think about the darker you are associated with X, Y, and Z. And so for me, for Filipino culture, I grew up thinking the darker you are, the poorer you are. And so in the culture, when you are darker, nobody wanted you to go out in the sun. Nobody wanted you to be dark because that associated with being poor. And so we always wanted to be dark, or not dark, we always wanted to be light. And so in Filipino culture, or even just in Asian culture in general, there are a lot of creams that bleach your skin.
They have them for black folks too.
Okay, so, and that's actually really bad for you. Like, that just ruins your skin, and that's just not good. There are a lot of negative associations with just being a darker shade, not just in Asian culture, but in African culture as well.
Definitely.
But then when we look at countries in Africa, the darker you are, the richer you actually are.
Yes.
You look at kings and queens, you are just rich in culture and rich in life is what they associated that with. And so let's talk about that. What does that look like for you guys in an African American culture, being in California? Because for me, I grew up in California, and so I always wanted to actually be darker because I love the sun, I love the beach, I love to tan, and that's how I grew up. But I grew up thinking, having aunties and uncles and my parents being like, no, like don't go out there, you're gonna get dark. And it was like, but
girl, well look, I said that I could patent my skin because the way it glows in the sun is amazing. I've always been the multicultural girl in my high school, in my family, accepting anyone just as you should, just as they are. But having a fair-skinned sister, my mother being fair-skinned, I'm probably one of the darkest people in my family. It played a little bit in my head, but then I had to think about it and say, wait a minute, I'm good just the way that I am.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
I really, really am. But I have seen the people with the umbrellas walking around. I have had people say, oh, you're not scared you're going to get too dark? Look, I'm allergic to sunscreen and sunblock, so therefore I have no choice but to get dark. I have no choice, but it's okay. It's okay. Even wearing my hair natural, I will throw a wig on in a heartbeat. But, you know, being yourself, the way God made you, unfortunately with some people it takes time.
right.
Definitely. Yeah. And this is something that I picked up like later on in life. And I have to thank God for it. And then at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, like I really didn't know that a lot of my family members and my peers were suffering with a complexion obstacle. You know, I can say for being a dark-skinned African-American girl, it was rare, now that I know, to be just comfortable in her own skin. Like growing up, I didn't go through having to struggle with my dark skin. You know, the whole light skin black thing, it's very new for me to say, wow, I didn't know that was considered better. You
Girl,
know?
yes, they used to put the paper bag up to people.
So expand on that. So light skin versus dark skin, and then you mentioned the paper bag.
Yes. Well, light skin, fair skin, good hair, soft hair, whatever. You know, that part, that's something that was embedded. That was something that was to pull us apart.
Right.
That was something to like control people's minds, if anything.
Yeah.
So again, it's just knowing yourself, knowing whom you are in Christ, and then moving forward. No one's better than anyone.
Exactly.
No one is better than anyone by far, okay?
Yeah, we are all wonderfully and fearfully made, you know, in the image of God. And, you know, to have people within the same ethnic group, especially, to separate from each other based off of shade is just very disturbing. You know, like I said, growing up, I really didn't know the difference. I never viewed anybody who was lighter than me and considered to have the good hair better than me. You know, I was instilled to be confident, to know that you're beautiful, you know, and so it really matters when you're a child to have those positive words instilled into you, because I do remember hearing kids talk about each other at school, you know, with the whole light and dark thing, but I don't know, it just still went over my head.
So was it like something that you
when
did?
you said school, I automatically thought of, I'm a thesaurus girl, so there is this guy who was extremely dark. I mean, he was blurple. And we went to go
blurple.
But you know, like, and then is it
Can you
blurple?
please describe blurple?
I don't know, it's darker than dark. Darker than midnight, jet, all that.
All right. I know what you're talking about.
You know, and it's like, yeah, we could laugh at it right now, but you know that really hurt his feelings. I'm sorry. But, you know, it's like, are we supposed to get a thick skin and go through that so we can know that we are great? Or is it really just still downgrading somebody? Watching your words. What are you really saying? What's really in your heart at the end of the day, too? Some things can be jokingly, but as we know, well, as you know, Princess, these kids that are in school right now going through all of this, they killing themselves over little things like that. Little things like that.
I think that's all just great perspectives, and just looking at how lighter skin or an association with a lighter skin tone is, sometimes people think it's better. And thank God you didn't grow up thinking that way, but a lot of kids do, and a lot of cultures think that way too, and there are a lot of negative effects with a darker skin tone. And whichever culture that you are too. And I think we have to look at the fact that we can't see people like that. We can't see people based off of their shade, because everybody's created in the image of God.
Exactly.
All shapes and all shades and all colors, we are created in the image of God, and we're called to reflect Him. And so if we're walking down the street and we see someone who's lighter, or we see someone that's darker, in our minds, that can trigger like, oh, be careful, or oh no, I'm safe, or whatever that is, and
that's so true.
And that is wrong.
How do we get that awareness? How do we get that out of us?
Right.
Like, what do we do? Do we just keep praying to God about it, like always?
Well, we should always be praying.
Of course, at all times.
We should always be praying, yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's our mind. We have to understand we're not perfect. We're sinful beings, and so we will have prejudice, and so we can't focus on, all right, so we think the darker you are, the shadier you are, right? We can't think that and have that negative association with a darker skin tone, because we don't know that person.
Look, I'm gonna clutch my purse as they walk by.
Right, and that's real, and those are real things, and we need to acknowledge the realness of, this is the day-to-day, this is how we think day-to-day.
Yeah.
And call it for what it is, because that is wrong, right?
So me joking with y'all about it, it's okay, but if I say it to someone in their face, I might get socked in my eye. Is that the type of deal?
I don't know if you get socked in your eye.
Well, I don't know, like, it can get crazy, because I know if somebody says something to me out of line regarding my shade or my race, it's gonna be a problem. Okay? So, I mean, let's be real. people have conversations about race within their circle of people who is the same ethnic group as them. Let's just be honest.
Yes,
it's always been like that. But I think having an awareness of not tearing people down publicly, you know, is something that we as just a culture, and I mean culture of people in this world, need to really be mindful of. I think the more that you learn about other people, you know, the less that you will think so negatively of them, you know, because when you think negative of people as a whole, that's a form of ignorance. You know, and let's also be honest, a lot of believers have these conversations and they talk about people of shades and different races. You know, so it's not just, you know, people out there in the world, but we as the Christian community have this difficulty as well. So.
And I think I really just loved what you said, is when you mentioned being fearfully and wonderfully made, and knowing that for yourself, knowing that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, but then looking at other people and seeing you're fearfully and wonderfully made. You are created in the image of God. And that is what we should always strive to see when we look at people. Yes, we shouldn't dismiss, you know, race. We shouldn't dismiss color. We shouldn't dismiss the culture. We don't want to live a life of dismissing who God created you to be, but that's supposed to be celebrated.
Hallelujah.
We are supposed to celebrate each other because we are a creation of God and we're called to love one another, and that is our pursuit. And so as we go on with our lives, we just want to thank you for joining us on talking about colorism. We want to keep that conversation going. What are the struggles that you have when you walk down the street? Do you actually feel like you need to clench your purse when you see a darker person? Or do you feel safe when you are around a lighter person? Why is that? And let's talk about that, because we want to pursue others and see others as a person who is created in the image of God. And so we want to keep talking about that. So we just thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to get the latest from the show. Also check out other segments on Mount Zion TV to stay up to date.